What's up YouTube, this is Vez here at Angelus Shoe Polish, and in today's video I'm going to show you how I did these dunks. I had a lot of fun with these dunks. I did a lot of experimenting on the soles. I've never used multiple dyes on a sole before in a random pattern. Overall, this is really fun to do for me. So let me break it down how I actually got to working on this shoe. First step, as always, you want to undo the shoelaces, get the shoe nice and prepped. Any surface areas you're gonna want to touch up with paint, you hit it with the Angelus Deglazer. In this case, I only needed it for the swoosh. So the Deglazer takes off the factory finish, so that way you're left with a nice porous surface to work on. If you paint over the factory varnish, it will crack, it will peel. It's always best to use a Deglazer and kind of set yourself up for success. Now that we have the shoe all nice and deglazed, we're gonna start on the swooshes. I just made makeshift stripes and drew some random stars just to get the feeling you're looking at a flag, but in my version of the flag. But basically, I always just do a line down the middle, one across, and then from there, you just kind of draw it down. Then you can just shape it. And then where the points meet, that's where you kind of want it to intersect. So I can bring this one up higher, bring this one up higher, sharpen that out, right there. And I'll clean it all up with the brush. All right, now that's all nice and drawn out. Let's get to painting. Now that we've finished up the Pearlescent blue, we're gonna move on to Riot Red. So basically 4 coats of red, 4 coats of blue, and now I'm just doing some touch-up work, cleaning the lines up, and trying to fill in some random gaps. Now I'm gonna go back over the stars that I sketched out. You can still see some of the pencil marks there, so I'm just gonna clean up the rough edges with black. Just adding some hints of silver on the shoe, just to give it a little more color, but I don't wanna add too much. I really want it to be subtle. All right, now that the swooshes are all nice and done and cleaned up to the best of my ability, it's time to move on to the soles. I'm gonna be using Angelus blue dye and Oxblood red dye mixed with Sole Bright in a mixing jar. Before you dye any sole, you wanna hit it with either acetone or Deglazer, something to open up those pores to absorb the dye you're gonna use. If you don't, the dye tends to kind of run off. So after deglazing the soles, I just used a 50-50 ratio of Sole Bright and Angelus Sole Dye. If you don't mix it with Sole Bright and you just kind of run the dye directly, just imagine it being like water. The second it touches that rubber sole, it's just gonna shoot right off. Be very careful on how you mix this. This dye is permanent and it can and will get everywhere if you're not careful. So just make sure you prep all your surfaces, tape them up anywhere I think the dye might leak onto, just as a precaution. I mean, you can do it without the tape, but you just have to be extremely careful. So yeah, basically for the dye, I'm not doing anything out of the ordinary. I'm just lightly dabbing the paintbrush with the dye in small increments, applying it all over the shoe. There's no real pattern here. Know that a little bit of dye goes a long way. Don't saturate the brush too much because it will leak everywhere. So now that the soles are nice and dyed, I'm gonna hit it with some denatured alcohol to clean up some of the residue. to get rid of the shine spots. Be very careful when you're doing this, because if you oversaturate whatever you're using to wipe it, it will run. So just be very careful when you clean this up. A word to the wise: before you wear these shoes out, make sure you walk on grass or some type of wet surface you don't care about. Something just to get the excess dye out, because you don't want to be that guy to be walking around someone's house on a white carpet and just leaving dye all over their carpet and, you know, having to explain that situation. So now that the soles are dyed, we remove the tape. Now it's time to get these shoes off right with some Lace Lab laces. So that's a wrap for these customs. Thanks again for tuning in. My name is Vez here at Angelus Shoe Polish. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you have any suggestions or comments or customs you want us to do in the future, please leave a comment down below. So until next time, peace.